Hey, my super beautiful, lovely souls. Lizzie the Lightworker here, and thanks for tuning in and checking out my channel. Today I was inspired. I don't know why this hit me, but I wanted to do something I've never done before, a video I've never done before. And it could be because I've known a few Aquarius like this, but it doesn't have to apply for everybody. I'm going to say that I want to do a reading about healing addiction. Okay? Addiction is a very serious subject, and it's literally plaguing our country right now. Okay? There's more addicts walking around than there are people not addicted to substances. And I'm talking about more severe substances. Okay? We have a complete painkillers and opiate addiction problem. It is becoming like an epidemic, okay? And it's claiming lives. And I'm going to tell you, I live in chronic pain every single day of my life, and I am not an opiate user at all. But I do find that there are days that I know that I could probably use something a little bit stronger than Tylenol. So I do feel for my chronic pain warriors out there, because it has made it very difficult for us to get relief and made it very difficult for us to be believed when we say we have this level of pain. But don't get me wrong, I'm right in the middle here, okay? I'm not shifting either side. I'm not saying either side is right or wrong. But addiction is definitely something that needs to be healed, and is definitely something that is sort of in a category of a mental illness and disease. So I also believe it is spiritual, okay? I also believe people who are addicts for a number of years could be carrying attachments. I believe that they could release some of these things and maybe start to get their thinking in a better energy, and in a better, more freer, more loving energy, okay? So I'm just gonna get some advice here. I think I would love to work with my energy oracle. I think the messages in this deck are absolutely superb, and I absolutely love this deck. I have been liking it more and more. Okay, so this is going to be, how can we heal addiction? What is some advice? If you are in love with an Aquarius who's suffering, your spouse, your husband, your wife, maybe your brother, your sister, maybe your niece, your nephew, it could be your friend, it could be anybody that you care greatly about, male or female. Okay, so let's see what we get here. Okay, the garden and the gate. Okay, so this has to do with when you're standing outside somewhere and you're afraid to walk through, you're afraid to sort of see what lies behind the gate. If you just stayed and stared and never explored, you would never know what was in there. You would never know if there was healing in there, if there was light, if there was answers, if there was people that were going to support you. This has to do with anybody in an addiction. If you stay in a negative thought pattern that you can never get well, and you're afraid to explore options for yourself, if you're an addict, you'll never know if you can find healing. And this goes for people who are in codependent relationships with an addict. If you just stand there and watch, and you enable, and you allow these things to go on with an addict, you're not helping them at all. You're actually helping them dig their own grave. Okay, so this has to do with exploring options, all options, and having no fear going into the exploration of these options. Okay. Temple path. The temple path has to do with your religious ties, your religious bonds, okay? And it has to do with strengthening those bonds. So I know it sounds cheesy, and part of the 12-step program has to do with getting right with God and the serenity prayer. So this is no different. This is sort of telling us to get right with God or our higher power, whatever it is that we believe. We have to get right with that. We have to take some of the messages that are age-old messages and apply them to life, because they are very true. And putting your faith in giving it to God, give it to the universe, so the universe can can give you some answers, and it can nudge you. The universe, the angels, God will never intervene, but they will give you signs, subtle things that you can use to help yourself along. If you're dealing with an addict, you're in love with an addict, you're trying to break ties with an addict, or your child is an addict, God forbid, or your parent is an addict, God forbid, it's telling you, get right with God. And if you're an addict yourself, that's what you need to do. I know it sounds cheesy, but it does work. It has worked for years for people. Okay, so getting right with your spiritual path, finding a spiritual path, if that's what you need to do. Door to Spirit, see what I just said? Door to Spirit has to do with letting in the good, okay? Letting in the good. Now, a lot of addicts stay in negative energy. A lot of addicts self-medicate. A lot of them stay in a bad energy and a negative energy because they've been made to feel this way. Lots of addicts self-medicate because they can't deal with the deep root of what is really the problem of why they use. It might be a deep-rooted self-esteem issue. It might be that they always felt like they never fit in. They might have inferiority complex. They might have a fragile ego. They might have a wounded child. They may have issues from past lives. They may have issues with twin flame. They may have just been bullied. They may have been always made to feel like they are a lesser person. Okay, so somewhere also they could have a parent, or it's in their gene pool. Addiction can run in a gene pool. It could just appear. And the slightest little thing can set it off. And people do have triggers that put them right back in that energy. So Door to Spirit, this has to do with being open to possibilities of spirituality that can help to heal you. Like I said, you know what? Reiki is very beneficial. I have a lot of beliefs in Reiki. I'm not going to promote it all day to people because I know that's up to you to go seek out what you need to do spiritually. But a lot of times, you need to clear off things from your aura. You need to clear away bad energies and bad people. And it has to do with getting away from bad people that are in a bad, toxic, like place. You know, a lot of these addicts, they're always around the same group of people because that same group of people is in the same negative energy, and they want to keep them down in that energy. Once they turn away from people like that and they open up to spiritual experiences and they're able to find the universe and God and start working the law of attraction a little bit more and believing that that can work for them, they suddenly free themselves from these people, and they have no desire to be around them anymore, and they start to move up, and they start to open up to the possibilities of what the love of Spirit can do for them, and the love that they can get from just having that faith in the universe and in God and in Spirit. And a lot of the time their ancestors are guiding them. So this also has to do with ancestors and spirit guides. Caring connections. Now that has to do with everybody in an addict's life, or you, the addict, have caring connections. There's always somebody that cares about you very greatly. If you're an addict, sometimes more often these people care about you more than you care about yourself. I know it's hard for addicts to think what this does to the people that they love. It destroys lives. And sometimes, yes, they feel guilty and they have a moment, and then often they just continue the lifestyle because that's all they know how to do. It's as if they're being controlled by impulses, by something that's driving them to continue to chase their high, okay? And a lot of the time that's that bad energy that I'm talking about that keeps them in that negative holding pattern. Now, if you're dealing with an addict and an addict is your loved one, caring connections, yes, that's very important. It's very important to show your love no matter what, but it's also important to stop enabling. You have to let this addict or this person go through the darkest of times without help. They have to know what it's like. I know this sounds cruel and I know this sounds impossible to do, but I'm telling you, once you detach and you let them fall, they will feel the gravity of that pavement under their body, and it will literally knock some sense into them, that they will think that if they are not being supported by those they love and those caring connections that they have, but if you're just a bystander and you keep telling them how much you love them and how much you care for them, but you're not going to help them anymore, there has been success with that. Okay, so that's just a little piece of advice. And I know it's hard, guys. I'm an empath, believe me. I feel everything from anybody, and I have definitely dealt with addictions and addicts my whole life. And the woman holding the coin, yes, this has to do with stop giving financial support. Okay, so if you're in a situation with an addict, you need to stop giving financial support. That is the only way. When you cut the cord, they have no one to rely upon. They then have to learn to rely upon themselves. And I know that a lot of you are going to say, well, that's dangerous, because then what are they going to do? Sometimes addicts steal, okay? And if they were to steal and get caught, they would go to jail. And sometimes that's God's way of stopping somebody right in your tracks, right in their tracks. And that is sort of forming a lesson sort of pattern that continues, okay? But yes, if you are with somebody that's like this, I know how hard it is. It really, truly, it does hurt the heart. But these are just some really good messages. Okay, guys, thanks for tuning in. This first kind of time I've done a video like this. Please let me know what you think and if you liked it. Okay, please like and subscribe. Leave me some comments. And as always, many, many blessings to you all. This has been Lizzie the Lightworker.